Hey, welcome to Second Chance Youth Ranch TV. Don't go away. Our special guest on this show is a personal friend of mine and yours, Coach Tom Farmer. Others know him as Mayor Tom Farmer of Benton. So we'll be right back and talk with the mayor. Hey, welcome to Second Chance Youth Ranch TV. I'm Perry Black, and on this show we have a very special guest, Tom Farmer, who is a personal friend, at least I think we're friends.
Yes.
And Tom, I've known you a long time, but I'm not going to call you Tom, I'm going to call you Mayor.
Well, you know,
Welcome to the show.
That's unusual because most people still call me Coach.
Coach, and I probably will as well. Now, you mentioned that, and I always try in the very first part of this show is to get to know the guest. We know each other, but not as well as some people may know you, and some people may not know you or me. So let's get to know you. You said you're a coach, so you want to kind of give us a history there?
For 38 years, I worked in the public sector and the coaching field, administration field, teaching field.
Yeah.
Worked 10 years in Benton schools and 28 years in the Bryant School District. And you know, the experiences I had with all those different jobs, whether it was assistant maintenance director or transportation director, athletic director. I was assistant principal for about 6 months there at Bryant High School. So it led me to a lot of varieties of things that helped me in the job I've got today.
My girls graduated Bryant in the 90s, so you were there in the 90s, weren't you,
I
Coach?
was. I started there in 90, and I actually retired from there December 31st, 2018.
So you had to start about the same time Danny Spadoni became principal.
Well, pretty much. I think he was there, the principal, a year before I got there.
Yeah, I met him because at that time I was traveling nationally and all over this state speaking in schools on drug, suicide prevention and that kind of things. And so I went in, my daughters were in school, so I went in to meet Danny. And I said, I just want you to know I'm traveling nationally. Schools pay me to do this, but if you would give me the privilege, I'll do it for Bryant for free.
Well, isn't that great? You know, and that's what we need is more people willing to
Yeah.
come out and do things for free to love kids, to help kids.
Yeah, and I ended up doing I don't know how many different programs. And then Danny's granddaughter ultimately graduated right here at Arkansas Christian Academy. I think it was last year.
Okay.
And of course, he was here. We got to visit and catch up. So, but you've been in coaching and now as the mayor of the city of Benton. But where did you grow up? Where are you from?
Well, I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland.
Uh-oh.
My dad was in the service, and we traveled all over. Lived in Germany for 6 years.
Where'd you
went to
live in
school
Germany?
Garmisch, Kaiserslautern.
Yeah.
And so it was pretty interesting. Went to schools, first, second, and third grade. Of course, back then there was no kindergarten.
Yeah, now Kaiserslautern, that's called K-Town.
Yes.
I had a guy in church actually came to church Wednesday night, and he had K-Town on his shirt, Germany, and I went, wow. And he's a former Marine.
Okay.
And I've been to K-Town myself. I served in the Army in Germany, not far from K-Town.
It's pretty amazing over there.
So your dad was now if you were in Baltimore, was he in the Navy?
No, he was in the Army.
In the Army.
He retired a Master Sergeant in the Army after 28 years.
Yeah.
And part of his job was in the civil detective area. So we just traveled a lot.
So if I said,
around.
where'd you go to school, you'd probably say in all different countries. Did you go to school in Germany
Went
in the
to
military?
Went to school in Germany, first, second, third grade, and then he decided to retire because we got transferred to North Carolina, from North Carolina to South Carolina. Bottom line is, in the third grade, I went to 6 different schools.
Wow.
And so he decided, hey, I'm going to retire in Hot Springs, Arkansas, because that's where his dad was, and been in Hot Springs ever since.
So you went to Hot Springs High?
No, well, I went to Hot Springs in elementary school, but Dad bought a place out in the country and actually ended up graduating from Lake Hamilton High School.
Yeah.
So it's just a small
When did you
world.
graduate?
1976.
And then you went off to what college?
Went down to University of Arkansas at Monticello on a football scholarship. Was going to be a doctor, pre-med major.
Yeah.
And my coach had other ideas because I was missing too many practices for science labs and science class, and so I changed to education, which was a God thing because, you know, that's where I need to be because my heart was with kids, always been with kids.
Yeah. And so you made kind of all the way around the horn.
Yes.
So, but you could probably then, if you were in 6 different schools in the 3rd grade, you would have a little bit of an understanding of what a foster child deals with when they go from foster home, a broken home, to a foster home, to a foster home, to a school, to a school, to a school.
You know, it's a hard lifestyle for any child, no matter
Yeah.
what age they are, because you get one place and you just kind of get settled and make a friend, and all of a sudden you move somewhere else, and so then you're kind of by yourself again, and then you've got to make friends again, and you really, to survive, you've got to be outgoing. And I wasn't that kind of kid. You know, I would kind of hold myself because we were moving so much.
Yeah.
So a foster parent has to display so much love and understanding and compassion for any child that comes in their home, because you don't know what they've been through.
Yeah, it's tough. They migrate. What we've done at Second Chance Youth Ranch over this past really 2 or 3 years is we've opened up each of our homes for sibling groups, where siblings have been taken out of their family's home and they're in 2 or 3 or sometimes 4 or 5 different foster homes. And what we've done, along with the Baptist home and a couple of others, is we're allowing siblings all to come together in the same house. And that's really a part of the healing process. And then those that want to attend Arkansas Christian Academy, we scholarship them here along with Reform Alliance. And that's plays a big, significant role. Tell me about your life. You know, you grew up traveling all around, and you ended up moving to Hot Springs. How'd you end up in Bryant? Maybe a job?
Well, I actually got out of college, and my high school coach was coaching in Benton, was the athletic director, or he was in Bryant, and he said, hey, go to Benton, they got a job open. So I go to Benton, they hire me. I stayed there, and then my high school coach was actually the athletic director at Bryant and head coach, and he retired. And I applied over there, and the good Lord blessed me by being hired over there. So I do want to share with you that one thing that makes Cheryl and I so open-minded to the foster care is we had a young man in our life, Luis, that was born in Brazil, and his mother had sold him into adoption and ended up in New York City in a foster care situation, and they couldn't handle him, so he ended up in Monticello, Arkansas, and another family adopted him, and the next thing I know, he's in college with my son. My son came home one day and said, Dad, we got to bring this kid in. He's got to live with us. He's got nowhere to go because he's 18. He doesn't have anywhere to go because he grew up in an orphanage.
Wow.
And so he spent every summer with us and holidays and everything else. And now, of course, you know, he's in his 30s and making a living and working. And so, you know, my heart goes out for everyone that opens their home, because we need that more and more on a daily basis.
Yeah. And there's opportunities for you to get involved in foster care too. So we're going to take a break. Be right back with Coach Tom Farmer.
A mission field around you is filled with young hearts needing a forever family. And at Second Chance Youth Ranch, our team is committed to providing healthy, stable, loving homes and families to hurting children in the Arkansas foster care system and those up for adoption. Please contact us if you feel the tug at your heart to help foster or adopt, and find out the steps you could take to help fulfill a child's lifelong dream. Maybe you can't foster or adopt, but you could help. The need for thousands of children in the system is staggering. But with the help of faithful partners and business alliances, we are meeting those needs right now. Would you help us make a difference? Every gift, regardless of size, impacts a child's life directly and helps provide for a home in the gap right now. Visit the Second Chance Youth Ranch website at 2cyr.org to read more, watch the stories, and to make a contribution for a hurting child's care. Monthly partners are needed, so please contact us right away. And as you partner with this ministry, you are partnering with the Heavenly Father that has promised to be Father to the fatherless. God bless you for helping Second Chance Youth Ranch.
Hey, welcome back to Second Chance Youth Ranch TV. Our special guest, Coach and Mayor of the City of Benton, Tom Farmer. Tom, in our previous segment before we took a break, you were telling me about a young man that somehow grew up in another country.
Yes.
Ended up eventually in your home.
Yes.
I guess that's during his college years.
His freshman year
Tell
in
us
college.
tell us a quick recap for anybody that just
Well,
tuned in.
he was born in Brazil.
What's his name? First name? only?
Louise.
Louise.
And Louise was born in Brazil. His mother had a dependency problem, so she sold him into the orphanage so she could get money.
Wow.
And he ended up in New York City. Family brought him in, and they couldn't handle him, so they sent him back to the orphanage.
Back to Brazil?
No, back to New York.
I
And
got
he
you,
ended
okay.
up from New York, he ended up in Monticello, Arkansas.
How old was he at that?
He was 10, somewhere in there,
Wow.
9, 10. And then another family adopted him in Hampton, Arkansas.
Yeah.
Well, they did some mistreating. He had scars on him where he'd been beaten and other things. So he ended up in the Monticello orphanage, a home down there. Ended up going to Ouachita Baptist, and then when my son was a freshman down there, Ben was a freshman, he got to be friends with him, and he come home and he said, "Dad, we got to let him live with us. He's got nowhere to go."
Now, how old is he at that
He's
time?
18 years old.
Just out of high school?
Just out of high school.
Wow.
And so we ended up, Louise is part of our family, like we have 3 sons, and he's just like another son to us.
So he's in his 30s now?
He's in his 30s now, actually lives right outside of Washington, D.C., and works for the government. Actually did 2 years with the Peace Corps because he wanted to serve and give back. And he's not married yet, but he is surviving. When my son was killed in a car accident, he contacted us and said, "Hey, look, I can't get home," and we understood because that was part of it, but we do keep up with him, and he's a successful part of the society right now.
Wow. That's a life that's changed that didn't have the best start. You know, this show's called Second Chance.
Yes.
Originally, the ranch was going to be called Destined to Win, so instead of calling it Destined to Win Ranch, we called it Second Chance Ranch and just named Main Street Destined to Win Road.
Okay.
And we believe in second chances, and he's certainly an example where someone reached out, and that has made a major difference in his life. Well, how did that impact y'all, having a child that's now introduced into your home?
Yeah, well, you know, the big impact of it was that we saw life from a different aspect.
Yeah.
Because Cheryl and I both grew up in your standard American family with a mom and dad that loved us dearly and raised us in that kind of atmosphere, and to have someone come into your house that really hadn't experienced that and always looking for that really affected us, because it made us realize that not everyone in this world loves kids.
Yeah.
And every child needs a chance to be successful in life. They deserve that because they're a blessing from God. Every child is a blessing from God, and they deserve that chance that everyone else has.
Yeah.
But sometimes they just don't get it in the homes they get, and they get put up for adoption, and then they get traveled around from place to place. And between my experience of moving around in the 3rd grade and what Louise taught us, you know, Louise taught us a lot about what true love was. And true love is meeting the needs and supplying the things for an individual because you care for them. And that's what the Second Chance Ranch does for all these kids. You know, Billy and Rachel do an amazing job out there. And the thing about it was I got to know them as I was the transportation director for the Bryant School District, because I ran the bus out there every day. and Billy was my contact person, and just what a wonderful couple that truly loves kids.
Yeah.
It's an amazing how they can pour themselves into these children, no matter who they are, what age they are, always giving them that second chance.
Yeah. Well, my first real knowledgeable relationship with you began just by Coach Farmer, because we were always needing training for CDL driver's license and all those things. And my associate minister said, well, you know, I need to call Coach Farmer. And then some many months ago, we found out that Coach Farmer was going to retire and was considering running for office. So how do you go from coaching 10 years in Benton, 20-some years in Bryant, and decide instead of retiring like a lot of folks do, let's go help our community?
Well, it's all about the Lord. I'm just going to tell you, I believe in a prayer life. Cheryl and I have always believed in a prayer life, and God put it on my heart, look, you need to continue to serve in some capacity.
Yeah.
And to me, an elected official is nothing but a servant.
Yeah.
You know, I had no agenda when I went in, and God put it on there, and I said, Lord, I don't know anything about politics, and honestly, I still don't.
Yeah.
I said, if you want me to be the mayor, you need to supply everything that's needed. You need to make it happen, Lord. And you know what? He did make it happen, and he supplied people. He supplied a social media specialist, a treasurer. He supplied every aspect of the campaign, and next thing I know, I'm mayor. So every day I start. Before I put my feet on the floor, Lord, you know what the needs are today. I need you in my life to give me the guidance and the willpower to do your will. And that's what it's all about.
I'm going to ask you a real personal question. Which is harder, being an educator and a coach, or being a mayor?
Educator.
Is it really?
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. Because when you're in education, every parent is an expert. When you're a coach, every parent's an expert on whatever game that their child's involved, whether it's basketball. And because I used to hear, why doesn't my child get to play? Well, you know, when the coach is out there hollering for a volunteer, your child is backing up and not coming forward.
Yeah.
But they don't see that part, so it's really harder to deal with those kind of things with parents, because every parent thinks their child is the next Roger Staubach or the next whoever, Peyton Manning.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, yes. So
how come my kid doesn't get to play? Because they don't practice hard, that's why.
Exactly, so.
Well, I said this, probably shouldn't say this on TV, but I said years ago at the church, I promise you gentlemen that own your own business, I won't come to your place of employment and tell you how to run your business if you won't come up here and tell me how to run a church. I said, until you've run a church, you don't know how. Until you've coached, you don't know how. Until you've been in office, there's no way you can know how. Everybody's an expert. Yes. Hey, we're going to take a brief break, and we're going to come back with Coach and Mayor Tom Farmer, and we're going to talk more about fostering, mentoring, and adopting.
What's your favorite car, if you could have one car?
Me, oof, that's hard. Well, you said car, so it'd be a 1972 Dodge Demon. It's the motor, the way it purrs is just perfect. My name is Austin, I'm 15. I like to hunt, fish, anything outside. I want to go into the Army, and there's either two. I either want to be a sniper or I want to be a K-9 officer. I had my Chihuahua. I lost her a little bit. I think it was last month or something like that. But she was the one that was there my whole life. That was the one I loved the most. I was adopted by my brother's grandparents in the last. And it made me feel good that there was someone there that wanted me. But it turns out that house wasn't meant for me. If I can actually get the right family that's there and not trying to get me just for the money, that's the difference. I want a family that'll open up, that'll actually sit there and listen to what I think instead of just 100% on what they think. I want to be able to go out and enjoy going out on and doing stuff with them and being able to enjoy having siblings.
If you had a superpower, what would you want that superpower to be?
I think it'd probably have to be kindness. Kindness, helping people. Because if you really look at it, today there ain't too many people that'll get out and get their hands dirty helping other people. Because I think they got themselves wrapped up too much into their own places and they up on their high horse when they shouldn't be. They should be able to get off their high horse and help people every once in a while. I help around campus. I help every chance I can. If I had $1 million, I'd probably buy my dream car, and then I'd put the rest in charity.
Hey, welcome back to Second Chance Youth Ranch TV. It is always my prayer as we come back from breaks that the videos that you see, the children that you see in the videos, and the various things that you're encountering during these brief breaks, that the Holy Spirit is using that to touch your heart. You know, Second Chance Youth Ranch TV and our guest, we are here for one reason: to allow you to connect with what God is wanting to do, to resolve, to bring solutions to kids in care. So our special guest, Mayor Tom Farmer, coach in our public school system in Benton and Bryant for over 35 years. How many? 36?
38.
38 years. And you sort of semi-retired and became the mayor.
Yes, sir. Retired December 31st of 18 and was sworn in at 10 a.m. January the 1st of 19.
So you've been mayor now for 3 years.
3 years and 2 months.
And Benton is growing. Now, when I moved to Bryant about 3 years before you came to Bryant Schools, we had a little community here, a little Camelot Road called Reynolds Road. There was no McDonald's, no Wendy's, no Taco Bell's, no Walmart. Just a quiet little community. I called it my Camelot. I moved into Richardson Place. We were the 7th family to build and move into Richardson Place. And such a quiet community. And I told everybody, I said, I live in Camelot. And now this whole Saline County, this Benton, Bryant, Bauxite, it's just grown and grown and grown.
Yes, it has. Matter of fact, the census shows that Saline County grew 15.2% over the last 10 years, which is one of the fastest growing counties in the state of Arkansas.
Yeah, back we started the church in 1990, and from 90 to 2000 it was #1, and from 2000 to 2010 Conway beat us.
Yes.
And now we're back at the top again.
Yes, we are.
What are some of the things that y'all are doing in the city of Benton, specifically in the area of families and children? I mentioned off air maybe Boys Club, Girls Club. What kind of programs are there for kids in our community?
Our Boys Club does an outstanding job of providing after-school tutoring. They provide summer programs for the kids. They run some little children's athletic programs like the soccer league and flag football and other things to provide opportunities for children they wouldn't otherwise have. They provide tutoring every day after school for any child that wants to be involved. And I think the last
Do y'all run buses from there to the club?
You know,
from the schools?
Actually the school does run buses from the Benton School District to the club so that the kids can get there.
What happens if they're not taken care of, like in a Boys Club, Girls Club, and they're out of school, nowhere to go and no supervision? What happens, Coach?
They usually go home and they have a key to let themselves in the house because their parents are working, so they're taking care of themselves.
Yeah, and sometimes they get into mischief.
Yes.
So something like the community. Are y'all doing another skate park or upgrading a skate park or anything?
We are upgrading a skate park. One thing we want to do is provide opportunities for everyone, not just children, but everyone, to get out in the sunshine and enjoy. And so we redid, Stephanie and her staff down at the parks have done an outstanding job of redoing Tyndall Park. We put in pickleball courts, new basketball courts, an inclusive playground, an inclusive softball complex. Now we're looking at redoing the skateboard park so the kids can come out there and enjoy that. So, you know, you go to Tyndall Park any day and there's probably 700 to 1,000 people utilizing the park, and you see those kids running around with smiles on their faces or on a skateboard park doing those kind of things. It's just amazing, and that's what it's all about.
And a guy that's been involved in education and coaching, we know the influence that parents, adults, role models, and mentors have in the lives of kids, and those kids need that opportunity. You know, one of the big projects, Coach, that we've got coming up, if I can drink enough coffee, which I don't drink caffeine, but if I can do something to get me energized, maybe that prayer life that you and your wife have, include me in that. We have a property that House of Representatives Tony Furman has given to us for the ranch ministry, our foster home. It's located right there on Smithers, just off of Alcoa. We've already got it done. We've got it surveyed. I've got the plans for the house. And that's coming up probably this spring of 2022.
Great.
Probably by the time this show airs, we will be under construction. I got to come down and get my permits, and it'll be a house just in town for a family to bring in foster children.
Oh, wow.
And you're really a supporter of ours. You've been connected in some ways directly with our ministry for a long time, and we've got about 2 minutes. Why should anybody in Arkansas be involved, not just with Second Chance Youth Ranch, but the Baptist Home, Compact, formerly Hillcrest there in Hot Springs?
Right.
Why should anybody be involved in fostering or mentoring? We've got a minute and a half.
Well, the whole idea is showing love to these kids that don't know what love is.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. You know, our Lord showed us love in everything He does. And so we need to reflect that same love to every child. I believe you told me there were 350 some kids looking for a home.
349, we're down to about 275.
And see,
waiting
there's
for an adoptive family.
275 kids that need to be placed in a home. And tying in with Second Chance Ranch or some program like that that offers not only an education to teach a way of life, but to offer that love that God so much wants us. You know, the second great commandment is love your neighbor.
Yeah.
And to show that love, you got to be involved in these programs. And sometimes you don't feel like you can do it personally. Maybe you can do it financially. Maybe you can do it through some other kind of support. Yeah. Nothing keeps you from calling out there and asking Billy, hey, what do you need? And it might be you've got this much that you can give them, and it's going to affect 2 or 3 children. It might affect 1 child. Yeah. But anything we can do to help out the situation, I feel like we need to do it.
Yeah. And there are a lot of opportunities for you to be involved. And if churches and people just like you would get connected in the community, you may not be a mayor, you may not become a coach or a preacher, but you can be a reacher. You can be somebody reaching out to change a life. So why don't you contact Billy and Rachel at 501-594-5200 and find out how you or your group or your Sunday school group or your business can get involved in changing lives for kids in care. It's time that we solve foster care in Arkansas. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again right here next time at Second Chance Youth Ranch TV. Bye-bye.